got to crew quarters, we had to do some activities right away. Then after that, I took a long nap, and it felt pretty good. And my joined me, and I ended up staying the night in crew quarters. I could have gone home, but I didn't feel that there was a need to, and so I thought that went pretty well. And in terms of what it's like coming down on resistance and landing in the water, Shannon mentioned earlier the G and the difference there, and I do believe that even the civilian crews, there's some centrifuge training, and so they're going to get in some of those profiles, and so it's not completely unique to them. If you think about it, when we're going to our training, it's in a fixed base, so we're not experiencing the G's and all of that as we do most of our and I think that they're going to be able to handle just as well. I think it is going to be opportunities to pass along what it's like, what it feels like, helpful. And I know again within the soil that what we call gap that gets passed down from crew to crew, and it's extremely helpful to know what to expect through those types of dynamic events.
All right, thank you. Let's take it from Candace Sweat, C5.
Yes, question is for astronaut Glover. Just and I'm based in North Carolina, so happy you're representing Texas well. Wanting to know how it feels and really sunk in for you, the first Black astronaut, having done a long day on the International Space Station.
Well, thanks. I think the nature of this mission, period, I think to unpack it a little bit and talk about the amazing things that we were able to accomplish on this mission. I will answer your question specifically. It's in the context of amazing things that to do with this team. So to finally get it done, I think that's the most part of it that resonates with me, is that we've done that, so that now focus on the next person that gets to go and live on the space station successfully. So I'm glad to have been in this position, but it wasn't that I chose or that I set up. We've done it. I'm glad that we operated, and I've been receiving emails and messages from say, hey, my kid saw you, and they're excited, and it's great to he can look at the NASA TV and see someone that looks like him. And I think it's important. I think we all need to dream in all colors. So that's important. But also important that NASA continues to do our missions well, successfully, by making sure we have people involved. And so I don't know if it's ever going to sink in. I think there's a lot to pack into process from this, and I'm still writing in my and looking at all things. But I'm very grateful to all of the people who make this possible, and I have done my little part to move things. So thanks for the question.
Thanks, Victor. Take a question from Lucy with ASP.
Thanks for the question. So it was nighttime since 1960. Were you rather worried or excited about that? And did it feel to come back? Can you describe it? Was it one challenge for you?
Yeah, I would. In really standpoint, it really wasn't an extra challenge. Our actions were exactly the same, and we were on inside the capsule, so it was most of the time. But so it was our actions were no different, and I think the harder part was on the rescue team that had to in the dark, and they had practiced that a lot. They were very well prepared. In daytime, it would have been exactly for us.
Yeah.
Thank you. Let's take another from Bill Harwood with CBS.
Thanks much. I just wanted to go back to my same question to Victor about reentry. Maybe get his questions to this as what he thought about coming to Crew Dragon.
Well, this is much more dynamic and much greater than you anything in a fighter type aircraft. So I think having that experience and being under G dynamic environment can get you some, but launching and such unique experience, and then to couple that with living in microgravity and experiencing for 167, and then being 4.5 Gs for over. I mean, that is just it's a dynamic. It will definitely. And there was a point where I was saying to myself, breathe, because really heavy. I felt like cartoons when they experience G and you're sagging down. But it was very dynamic. But at the time we had things to do. We were monitoring altitudes and speeds and G loading, so that we could stay on, knowing when the seats were going to rotate, when the chutes would come out. And I think we were able to do those things successfully. We stayed in spacecraft. Back to DM2, Bob and Doug gave us a lot of gouge about what that event was going to be like, and that it was very quickly. And I think we expected to come fast, and so we were ready. That's what I would say about the whole thing. I expected it to be so challenging that the actual event was a little less than what I was expecting, and it was enjoyable around. But the high roads, it's a good thing. The G is going sort of chest, almost in your chest, as opposed to head to, which is what you would experience in a fighter aircraft. It makes it hard to stay conscious. So going to chest makes it a little easier to, keep situational, but it makes it hard to, so focus on your breath.
Interesting. If you are media on the phone and had a chance to ask your question, please press *1 to question. We'll take another question from Barber with low profile.
Wonderful. Piggybacking off of Bill's question, we're talking about physical experiences. Let's transition a little bit psychological or philosophical experiences. Can any of you describe an awe-inspiring moment?
Yes, I'd be happy to. I was very fortunate in the sense that I stayed in resilience the whole time, my crew quarters while we were up there, and the advantage of that was I had windows, and wow, to be able to crew quarters where when you're sitting there and you're getting up in the morning, you get to look out the window and see the earth is pretty incredible. That's not that awe moment. The awe moment happened after we had done port relocation, and we had to shut down all of the power and the lights in the vehicle, doing some work in the Node 2, which is where we were docking, and so shut down. And so work was done, and I had floated back to power things back up on my computer, but it was during the night, and the window's right there. So I glanced out, and oh my gosh, it just took my breath away, because right there in front of my face, and you're just seeing these amazing stars, and you can see Earth just kind of glowing in the background, and you can see the sphere, just this thin layer of sphere, kind of glowing in the background. And no light pollution or anything. It was amazing, unbelievable. And then fortunately, after the master, Soichi came in, and immediately or shortly thereafter, like, you guys got to come see this, and Soichi came in with the camera, and hopefully, if you've seen some of the pictures, in particular time lapse that he took from looking out resilience at the sky, that's definitely worth it.
All right, thank you. Now we'll to a few questions that have come from social media. Michelle's 4th grade class is asking if you can watch sports.
Yes. Yes.
Absolutely.
They have people on the ground that can send up a TV channel to us to choose what we get to watch and when we want to watch. If we've got the right satellite hookups, then we can watch TV. So we'll watch some sports. We didn't watch
Super Bowl.
Yeah. We did watch Super Bowl. Yeah. Yep.
All right, thanks. Liam wants to ask Soichi, did you notice any difference in Dragon's re-entry compared to the shuttle Soyuz? Which did you find the most helpful?
use Dragon? It's a good question to compare. Of course, for the guys, the shot is hard to beat. My Colonel Eileen Collins kick, and it's very soft. But don't forget that after the touchdown, we have a pretty slow of the nose wheel touch. So that's actually trivial. So it's like a crash into the ground. This one, I would say it's benign and almost a touchdown. So, I really like it. And, impact was very minimal. And after splashdown, with the wave motion, that is, we to Earth, the water. And it's exactly forecasted like a 5 seconds period, and I feel it. So that's which we don't have for the 7 days.
Thank you. We have a question from Joseph on Twitter. How different is it to adapt the schedule of sleeping routine? It must be weird to have this per day.
We actually get 16 sessions a day because we go around once every 90 minutes. Unless you're the lucky one that gets windows all the time. Sometimes you don't notice all the sunrises and sunsets. We're working inside modules that have windows that are open. It's we're on Greenwich Mean Time. We sleep at that time now that we're sleeping according to Houston time.
Kelsey, age 8 on Twitter. Know what was it like buckling for the first time in gravity?
Great question, and it's challenging to describe. You know, we talk about this sensation of floating, but it's floating in a swimming pool because you don't. Even when you're in a pool, you have gravity. Flip upside down, you're still that you're upside down, and bubbles going toward your feet and whatnot. I've started saying this. It's actually living your dreams about, being able to actually be moments where you can push off and just and so my first that I remember significantly was getting out to then go look out the window. A short video on my tab. The whole experience was just so amazing to be and to see a vehicle and then look out and see the different orientation. To look back in and see my crew vehicle in an orientation, it was like, what have you? Are we? And it was an amazing experience. It did not get old. For 107 days, amazing to float and Mark started doing upside down, use the ceiling as, and it just never got old. I do miss that. I do miss it. I miss sunrise and sunset.
All right. From Twitter, I have a question about the experience you conducted or tested on space station. I know we've talked a little bit already, but just from your perspective, working with the experiment, about that a little bit.
Can I one interesting thing, I was talking in a conference of our science experiments, and I said something that I wrote it down later because I think it's an important perspective. So this is one experiment in particular. We run the gamut from a lab technician to researcher, and I think the aspect of our involvement very, very heavily involved to sort of I just fluid from here to here, this block from here to here. I'm comfortable with that I can do. It is easy to reset this up to this is opportunity to get this data for this person who has been reading this idea for a decade, and I don't want to mess it up. And being with that breadth of responsibility, you may be heavily involved in research, and you may be just the lab. Not just it's not a significant job. You have to know those different responses and be comfortable in those different roles. One of the aspects I think that really resonates in my research is how responsibilities could be.
And just to add one other thing, and that was with up bringing 4, and so increasing on the SOS side, we had 5 crew. The amount of flexibility that gave us executing the science, it allowed us. Like there were multiple times where Shannon would be working on the same experiment, some of those different roles that Victor was talking about on the same, where one of us would do one, and the next part of it, looking through a microscope and seeing the results of it, and fun because then you had an idea of what they were seeing, and sharing the excitement of it, that excitement with the investigators on the ground. It is pretty impressive the additional crew members on board science we were able to do.
One thing I can quickly add about science is that does not stop on the space station, it actually grows on the ground side. One of the experiments I did is basil, and the plant is fun, and it's 12 Pacific countries and regions join, and the students participate on the ground to do the same kind of experiment. We know that we are only a small portion. The main is on the ground. The students does science, and it's very an honor to join those type of adventures.
Thank you. We have a question from Nicholas. What types of foods space?
Nicholas, all
Yes.
of them, if they get eaten. You know, we have a standard menu. Make sure that you get the appropriate nutrients. There's plenty of calories, a variety of drinks, but we also are allowed to fly up foods that we request. And we bonus food, and that can vary as it meets certain packaging and has the appropriate shelf. We get quite up there, and so I think for us all, there was a very popular, and Hopper was smart enough. Refried beans and refried were popular for two reasons. They were delicious, so good at sticking other food, so they were a very popular side dish. Break out the refried beans.
Also add that the best parts about being on the international station is international food. So not beans, but we had Japanese food. So we had American food, we had Europe, and then the Russian food. Lots of choices, which is really.
That's great. Great question, Nicholas. Glad we. About this one from Twitter, more challenging to adjust your cycle the first few days in space after coming back to
For me, I've got to say, coming back is definitely more challenging. And it's interesting because when we were in space and we got to the space, boom, we're working full day. There is no way I could have the first day coming back down to Earth. There's a couple of things that to that. First of all, when you're in this new environment, when you get up into space, you're floating in the Earth, and you're pretty up. You're very excited to be there, and so there's that certain just adrenaline. That's a good way to describe it. It's flowing. When you get back, it's at the end of 6 months, and so there is a certain amount of that builds up over a mission where you are on duty the whole time, and so when you splash down, there is definitely a little bit. Shannon just did it, of that just relaxation, that relief, that the mission, your job, and the mission is, and you can kind of relax a little bit, and I think that contributes to it. But then